Welcome to San Antonio Living. This is a special half-hour plan just for you. News veteran Matari Jones joins us with a candid conversation with District Attorney candidate Nico LaHood. Matari?
Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on this special edition. You've seen his face all over town, whether it's on billboards, newspaper ads, or television commercials. Well, in studio this morning, we have the candidate running for Bexar County District Attorney, Mr. Nico LaHood. Good morning to you, Nico,
Good morning.
And welcome.
Thank you.
This is a time where we want to let the WOAI viewers know who Nico LaHood is and why they should consider voting for you during this upcoming election, which is Tuesday, November 4th, by the way. Early voting ends on October 31st. So let's talk about you, Nico LaHood, the person.
Sure.
Nico, you are a San Antonio native. You graduated from Central Catholic High School, St. Mary's Law School, and you're a very prominent attorney.
Well, thank you.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I'm born and raised from San Antonio. I've never left, and I don't plan to. I spent a lot of time on the south side growing up with my grandma on South Flores and Clutter. My mom went to the Harlandale, so I grew up in that area. And then I obviously went to Central Catholic High School, St. Mary's University, went through their law school as well, and now I'm a proud husband, a doting daddy, and now I want to be the district attorney and serve the community.
You also want to share with us this morning your story, which is a story about opportunity, not second chances.
Right.
It's about humility and turning your life around. Tell our WOAI viewers, what do you mean by that? You have a very interesting story and a very distinct background, Nico. It's
a story of redemption, and I speak to a lot of children that are what we classify, and I hate classifications, at risk, or I'll speak to different church groups of redemption. Everyone knows by now, 21 years ago I was arrested for a felony drug charge. I'm definitely not proud of that, but I'm extremely proud of the man that I am today. And so I try to give hope to people to understand that if you make a poor choice in your life, not a mistake, because it wasn't a mistake in my situation, it was a very poor choice, is your life over? Are you going to let that hold you down like an anchor? Or are you going to let that label you and define you? I made the choice that I wasn't going to let it define me. And so I talk about it very openly, and I did the last time I ran as well.
It sounds like you're running a campaign that's trying to unite people and not necessarily divide them. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. I mean, when it comes into politics, and politics is a bad word for me, we're so divisive, we're so divided, Republicans, Democrats, Tea Party, and we push people away and draw lines. And I understand I don't compromise my values or my principles, and I never will for any political party or for any person. They're my values. But I want to bring people together. I want to talk about what I'm for, not what I'm against all the time. And so, that's my message of redemption, of working with the community, co-laboring with the community, and really fixing the broken justice system that we have. And I know we're going to talk about that, but statistics here in Bexar County should be horrifying for people.
Before we jump into the statistics, if the voters so choose and elect you as the next district attorney of Bexar County, will things be different, and if so, how?
Oh, absolutely. I want to establish a culture of justice. What people don't realize, I don't think, is a prosecutor's oath is to seek justice, not just a conviction. So what does that mean? That means we have to get it right. That means we have to hold people accountable all the time, but we have to make a distinction between violent and nonviolent offenders. If people are trying to hurt our children or our grandchildren, I assure you, I have zero issue keeping them accountable, and we'll be swift and hard on them. But then we have a young person or even an older person that goes through a season in their life and makes a poor choice. Can we give them the structure and the opportunity to turn their life around and help them become a productive member of our community?
Let's talk about the distinct and unique background of Nico LaHood.
Okay.
You mentioned it wasn't a mistake that happened 21 years ago. It was a poor choice.
Very poor choice.
Let's put it out there.
Sure.
Drug offense.
Absolutely.
Felony drug offense.
Yes.
What happened, and how have you moved on to where you are today?
Well, yes, it was a felony. I sold drugs, and I was arrested, and it's part of my testimony that I share with people because it was very distinguished in the fact that when my pop picked me up from downtown, I remember I didn't want to talk to him. I was scared. I was more scared of my own man than I was of the system, and he didn't say anything to me. And then we got home, and I finally broke the silence. I said, "Pop, I'm sorry that I embarrassed your name." And he snapped at me, and he says, "You don't embarrass me, son. You embarrass yourself." Kind of like how, in my faith, how God feels about us, right? And he says, "I don't want you to remember something. Don't ever forget this. It will take you years to build up a good reputation, and it'll take you 1 second to mess it up." Now, that didn't sink in at the time because I was still scared out of my wits, but he sowed a seed in me that day, and it was just watered over time, and I finally woke up, and I used that as motivation to redeem myself, and I've proven it to my pop, and I know my mom both are very proud of me, and I'm honored that I'm their son.
Let's talk about crime statistics and
Sure.
crime. You also have been victimized by
Yes.
crime. Not a victim, as you say. You've been victimized
Right.
by crime. Tell me a little bit about that and our WOI viewers.
Sure. I make the distinction. At some point, victims, if they don't choose, and it's a choice, it's not a feeling, if they don't choose to do something with their life, it becomes a volunteer. There's no doubt that my family was victimized. On August 15th of 1996, my older brother was murdered in my parents' driveway during a carjacking. We walked out 30 seconds later. I heard my mom cry the way that only a mama can cry, and I share that with people because there's something very special about being a mommy. Nothing about, I mean, I'm a daddy and I adore my children. I'd give my life for them in a second, but there's something very special about a mommy, and so I heard that, I experienced that. I saw my pop cry for the very first time in his life, and that obviously there was a crossroads in my life. What was I going to do? What was I going to be in the next 5, 10, 15, 21 years? And I had made choices in my life to do something to redeem myself, and I pressed into my faith, and here I am, a man full of peace.
Crime is a big issue here in Bexar County. Crime is a big issue that is of top concern to the parents, to the moms, to the dads here in San Antonio and Bexar County. Let's talk about the statistics.
Right.
78%.
Increase in violent crime since 1999, 78%. And those aren't my numbers. These are the FBI numbers given to them by San Antonio Police Department. I'm a data-driven person. I'm a trial attorney. And so trial attorneys take data and evidence, and then they obviously make their case for it. So I'm data-driven. There's no speculation here. I'm taking numbers of child abuse cases from CPS. We've had the highest number of child abuse cases in the whole state of Texas. That's unacceptable. We have the highest number of sending children back into a dangerous environment in the whole state of Texas. We have over a 75% what we call recidivism rate, which we've talked about is a repeat offender rate. It's like a broken door, a revolving door. So we have a system that's broken because we've been doing it for 16 years, and we have the same result. That's insane.
So we talk about child abuse. Let's talk about DWI. Bexar County has a notorious reputation for drunk drivers, fatal drunk driving accidents. What do you want to tell the WOI viewers about your research with drunk driving here in Bexar County and what you plan to do if you're elected as district attorney to change that around?
We look at the Texas Court Administration Systems, and they keep data, right? Out of the 5 major counties, Bexar County has the lowest conviction rates for DWIs and the highest dismissal rates. That's unacceptable, right? We have 12,000 DWI cases, misdemeanor DWI cases, pending right now on what we call our dockets. That means they're just waiting for their day in court. We have 5,800 new DWIs every year. That's up from 2011 from 4,800. So our approach is not working. We're not making a distinction on the rehabilitative side to decide or to make that determination whether someone is alcohol dependent or an alcohol abuser. An alcohol abuser is someone that makes a poor choice or goes through a season in their life and they just abuse alcohol. An alcohol dependent person is someone that no matter how long they get away from it, they have to come back. You do not treat those two people the same. You can't.
This issue affects our roadways.
Absolutely.
And basically our roadways, you're left with the perception that our roadways are not safe.
Well, sure. Well, look, nobody wants someone driving intoxicated, right? Obviously, it's not against the law to have a drink and then to drive on our roadways. That's a legislative issue that needs to be changed if people don't like it. But are they intoxicated? Are they learning from that? Are our roads any safer? And the answer is no. You have 12,000 cases on the docket, 5,800 new cases. Out of all the 5 major counties, we're underperforming all of them. The only area that we're leading on is that we're dismissing cases more than anybody else. And that comes from an inefficient system, backlog. We're not addressing situations. We're not using the whole penal code and working with probation to work on the rehabilitative side. And we have this cluster, and it's not effective at all.
So if the voters decide to elect you, Nico LaHood, as the new district attorney for Bexar County, is it going to be a new day and a new way?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, just the culture is going to be different. There's stark differences, and I'm not being disrespectful, between me and my opponent. I've asked over and over again for her to do something like this, to sit beside me and talk for the viewers and basically interview. I mean, this is an interview with our employers, the citizens of Bexar County. And for someone to refuse to interview, no one would ever be hired if they refuse to interview for a job. And I believe there's a sense of entitlement there. I have a spirit of service, and I'm humbled every day, and I want the citizens of Bexar County to hear me out in my interview with her next to me. And she hasn't done that. She didn't show up to the League of Women's Voters forum. She's turned down other news stations, and there's been multiple offers to debate. I've offered town hall meetings. It doesn't matter who moderates it to me, because the truth is the truth, as my pop always taught me. So, and she refuses to do that. I think that's very disrespectful to the voters.
Your opponent has been in office for 16 years.
16 years.
She runs what could be considered the largest law firm in the city. There's about 170 prosecutors, I believe, in the DA's office.
There's 168 trial attorneys, and there's other supporting staff. So yes, absolutely, it's the biggest law firm in Bexar County.
Back to crime. You've got parents who are concerned about crime, and it's top on their mind. We've talked about DWI. We've talked about child abuse. Let's talk about rape and sexual assault, the murder rate. Tell me about those stats, and what are you going to do to fix that?
Well, we have under this administration, we have a 37, depends on when you look at it, to 38% conviction rate for indecency with a child and sexual assault of a child. That's just unacceptable. I mean,
37%.
37%, 37 to 38. I mean, I want to be very consistent and accurate here.
Right.
That's unacceptable. I mean, and then you look at the high child abuse numbers and the repeat offenders, and you put it all together. You can't look at a snapshot of something with horse blinders on. You have to look at the panoramic view and look at everything. Engage people, co-labor with our community, with law enforcement, with probation, adult probation, with the judiciary, the judges, even the defense counsel. Everyone has to come together to see how we can run this system better and more efficiently, and then have someone lead the DA's office that truly has a spirit of service and wants to bring a culture of justice to the office, and that's what I want to do.
Is your goal to make the roads safer by attacking the DWI issue from a different angle? And as far as the violent crime, you're going to try and introduce a more collaborative approach with the various agencies. Could you explain again how you are going to be different than your incumbent opponent?
It all comes down to training. It would be shocking to people to know that there's zero training in our current administration's office. I mean, you have to train the 168 attorneys to be prepared for battle, which is in the courtroom. Then you have to look at some collateral issues when you're talking about child abuse cases, family violence on women, things of that nature. Substance abuse, 98%, listen to me, 98% of situations with child abuse are substance-related issues.
Wow.
So we're not addressing substance abuse properly. My opponent opposed drug court programs. She's opposed the veterans program, the Esperanza court, mental health courts. She's talking about it now, with all due respect. Now, 16 years later, I've been talking about this since 2010, and the people in our system have been talking about it even before then, and they have not gotten cooperation from the current DA.
Wow. Moving on, let's change topics, lighten it up a little bit. Let's talk about the endorsements for Nico LaHood.
Yes, ma'am.
I opened up the show mentioning there's not a billboard, a television commercial, a newspaper ad that you can open up and look and you don't see Nico LaHood. That's one aspect of campaigning.
Yes, ma'am.
But when you look at your endorsements, there seems to be some kind of message, some kind of symbolism there. And what I mean by that is the Deputy Sheriff's Association is one of the agencies that's in charge of law enforcement for our Bexar County courts. They have endorsed you as the next candidate for district attorney, not the incumbent who is the current person in that office, their leader, so to speak. What does that say to you? What does that say to you, and what does that tell the voters when the Deputy Sheriff's Association endorses you and all the other numerous endorsements that you have?
Well, just to be clear, I want to make sure their leader is the elected sheriff, right? Okay, so but we work closely with each other. Okay? And so we have the Sheriff's Association, we have the Firefighters Association that has endorsed me, and then the Adult Probation Association has endorsed me. And that's very humbling to me. These are organizations that have seen my work in the almost 12 years of practicing law as a special prosecutor, a defense attorney, a trial attorney, as a magistrate judge. And they're saying, you know what, Nico, we need new vision. 16 years is a long time to do the same thing and not get better results, to actually get worse results. And again, I'm speaking factually. I'm not being disrespectful and calling anybody names. And so they're saying, Nico, we need new vision. We need someone that's going to truly work co-laboring with us and bring people together, not divide them, to make our community more efficient in the justice system and safer ultimately.
Now, there's one thing to be endorsed by law enforcement agencies, and I want to get ready to show you a video. You have been endorsed by very prominent members of the Spurs organization.
Yes, ma'am.
They have publicly and very vocally explained, or I should say, expressed their support for you, Nico LaHood, as the next candidate for District Attorney of Bexar County. And they talk a lot about your character. What I'd like to show our WOAI viewers right now is one particular testimonial from our Spurs, one of our Spurs favorites from the World Championship Spurs, Tim Duncan. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tim Duncan, here in support of Nico LaHood. I've known Nico for way too long, 15 plus years now, and we met each other when we were young men, no families, and we learned a lot about each other over the years, became very good friends, and still are very good friends, obviously. We've had kids around the same time, and I've watched him grow up, really grow up from the young men that we were to a real adult, a father, someone that I respect and really enjoy being around. That's why it's easy for me to sit here and say that I really support what he is wanting to do here in his run for DA. He's a focused, driven individual. If he puts something in front of him and he wants to achieve it, he's going to achieve it, or he's going to die trying. And I know he wants what's best for this community, and I hope that he gets the opportunity to get this position, and I know he'll do the best possible with it. On Election Day, I hope you'll vote for my friend, Nico LaHood.
Wow. Tim Duncan from the San Antonio Spurs, and he is not the only one from the Spurs organization who is endorsing you. You have Tony Parker, you have Antonio Daniels, just to name a few. And for our WOAI listeners who'd like to see more of those videos, you can go to San Antonio Champions for Children's website, and you can see more of those testimonials from the Spurs. What does that say when Tim Duncan endorses you, but he talks a lot about your character? And Nico LaHood, the person. And this is all part of that San Antonio Champions for Children's organization. What does this type of endorsement say about Nico LaHood?
Well, I mean, it just says that someone, I mean, Tim's a regular guy. I always say he's a regular old schmo. I mean, I know he does something he doesn't look at himself that way. I know, but you know, he puts his pants on like I do and everybody else, and people need to know that. I wouldn't be his friend if he wasn't a humble man. He's a grateful man. He's a loyal friend, and we've been friends for close to 17 years. And he's normally busting my chops, so it's interesting to watch him talk seriously and look like he's staring off into space. I like to tease him, but it's an honor. He knows me. I mean, we spend. He's my son's godfather, and so we spent a lot of time together, just at home, no one around, no cameras. The first 5 years of our friendship, no one even knew we were friends. Not that I'm embarrassed of him. It's just he's just a friend, and so it's an honor when he wanted to help and said, Nico, what can I do to help you in this endeavor? I don't know anything about politics. I don't want to get involved in politics. I couldn't tell anybody why you would be a better DA, legally. I just know why you're a better person and with the person that I trust. And so I said, well, just say that then, I guess, Wow. And so he wanted to do that along with Tony and Bruce and Antonio.
Now, we've talked about endorsements. Let's talk again about the crime statistics, the concern about crime, your character, the perception of your character.
Sure.
We've already talked about your past, about what happened 21 years ago. You have tattoos.
I do.
You have tattoos.
I do.
Briefly describe them to me.
Sure. They reflect my tattoos. I am proud of them. They reflect my faith. My faith is just everything to me in my life. They reflect my honoring my brother who's passed on. He's in heaven waiting for me. And then my children. So those are my tattoos, and I don't make excuses for them.
Do you feel like that reflects negatively on your character and the type of person that you are as Nico LaHood running for district attorney?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's no different than a piercing. I mean, everyone does. People wear their hair differently and wear different clothes that I don't, people might like or not like. And so people might have personal opinions about tattoos, and I respect them. And the difference between myself and my opponent, I can agree to disagree with somebody. We don't all have to agree on everything. And so, but what they're going to benefit from is my character and my principles and my values, and I tell people that all the time. So I think the tattoos and to make issue of tattoos is a desperation, in my opinion. I mean, I'm challenging her on her action or inaction in office about these horrible statistics that we've talked about, and her response is to talk about 21 years ago, call me names, and to bring up tattoos. And I don't know why she won't talk. I mean, she can bring up tattoos if she's next to me and we can talk about them. So, but I can't get her next to me, so.
We're in a society where everyone's very visual and they like to see and watch things, and that's why they're watching us this morning.
Hopefully.
You have done a commercial talking about your tattoos and putting it in perspective and in context. And I think it's worthy for our WAI viewers to see that. Let's take a look at the video, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Susan Reed says you can't trust someone like Nico LaHood because he has a tattoo. So she admits she doesn't trust our military, our veterans, those that risk their lives, teachers, nurses, professionals who care for our kids, even Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf, and those who have lifted our city to greatness. Ink is skin deep. Character runs much deeper, Ms. Reed. Yours says you're out of touch with our society. Vote Nico LaHood for District Attorney.
Now, as I mentioned before we roll the commercial, we talked about putting that into context,
Right.
putting it, setting it up properly.
Right.
So you have tattoos, but so do police officers
Right.
and firefighters and
Veterans,
nurses.
veterans, people that I talk to in the community, and I love meeting people. I want to be connected to the community. I mean, people have tattoos. I mean, I don't know why we're talking about tattoos when we have horrible statistics that we need to talk about to keep our children and our grandchildren safer. I mean, again, it reeks of desperation. And I want to be real clear about this. This commercial would have never been produced if she didn't make an issue of this. I assure you, my platform was not to talk about my tattoos. I mean, I want to talk about child abuse. I want to talk about the violent crime rate. I want to talk about repeat offenders. I want to talk about making our streets, safer. But she brought this up, so I have to respond to it and put it in context for people. And I've never hidden from it. I mean, someone can just go to my Facebook. I think I did that water buck challenge, and I had a T-shirt on, and I had my tattoo showing. I've never run from it, so
Okay.
I don't know why it's an issue.
Let's focus more about your position if the voters elect you as the district attorney of Bexar County. Once again, you would be the top prosecutor.
Yes, ma'am.
You would be in charge of about 168 prosecutors. You would be handling capital murder cases, processing them, DWI cases. The crime stats, the crime trends. Let's break it down again. When you look at DWI and Bexar County, it strikes fear among many people that our roads just are not safe here in Bexar County. What did you do again about DWI in Bexar County?
Well, it needs to be training. We need to actually train people how to detect DWIs, and our law enforcement is doing the best job they can. I'm certified in the standardized field sobriety test. I've been certified as an instructor. I'm certified in gas chromatography. That's the science behind the blood draw process that's been used here, and I have an opinion about that. I've done entry-level certification on the Intoxilizer 5000, and I'm a big advocate for using a newer model, and I don't want to bore people with details. I'm just saying that we need to look at the front end on the detection, and then on the prosecution end, and then also on the rehabilitative end, which is education. We have the lowest numbers of convictions out of the 5 major counties. That's the lowest number, so you can't say you're tough on it or you're effective. It's easy to be tough on something, right? That just means push your metal to the pedal or raise the volume the highest. Anybody can do that, but can you do it just right? Can you raise the volume or push the pedal just enough to be effective and to be safe and to be smart? And so that's not what's happening. So we have the highest dismissal rate. No, dismissal rate. I mean, so you have the 5 counties, we have an 11, almost a 12% dismissal rate. That means cases are stuck on the docket. Cross-reference that, 12,000 cases on the docket as we speak, plus. And then, so they're getting old, we're losing witnesses, and they get dismissed. That's not justice. And then while those cases are pending, 2 years, year and a half, 3 years, sometimes even more, nothing's happening during that time. No programs, no rehabilitation, which is very different than the juvenile system. We just need to have a whole different mindset and vision on how to deal with our justice system and keeping our community safer.
And is that what Nico LaHood would bring to the DA's office if the voters elect you as the next district attorney of Bexar County?
Absolutely, but I'd be inclusive. I would bring people in. There's experts in each of these fields. I mean, I've spoken with people from these 501c3s, these nonprofits like Child Safe and CASA, St. PJ's, that are fighting the battle for the justice system. Bring them to the table. Let's all talk. I'm taught in Proverbs that says, wisdom is found in the counsel of many, right? And that means in everything. Whether you're a believer or not, that's a fact. Bring people together with knowledge. Your expertise is your expertise. Their expertise is their expertise. Now let's collaborate together and come up with real solutions, not just sound bites and talk.
When people talk to you, you are very passionate about your faith.
I am.
And your faith can shape your personal values.
It does.
But for the voters out there that may not be as passionate about faith
Sure.
as you are, they're more interested in what Nico LaHood could do as the district attorney for Bexar County. What would you tell those voters?
I tell them every day. When you ask me, why are you where you're at, Nico? Why are you a man with peace when you were a man that was angry after your brother's murder and the world tells you it's okay to be angry and stuff like that? It's because of my faith in God and my relationship. And that's my walk. And I'm very clear about that. So when you're asking me why I have hope, it's because of my faith. Do I share it with people? Yes. I'm telling my testimony. Do I push it on people? Absolutely not. Do I inform people? If they want to hear. So I'm not going to push my faith on anybody, I promise you. But I've spoken to many people that are not believers, and I tell them, look, we can disagree on faith. I'd like to talk to you about it later, so if you give me an opportunity, but we can disagree on that. But you will definitely, absolutely benefit from my values and my principles. I promise you that. And they're okay with that. And so that's our common ground, is those principles, the consistency. That's what we don't have, is consistency. And I believe people deserve consistency in such an authoritative and public office.
You are also a staunch supporter for children's rights in the respect of reducing the abuse against children. Let's go into a little bit about that, the statistics involving child abuse, and what you plan to do to turn that around in the district attorney's office if the voters elect you.
Sure. I've been criticized by saying, well, you want to be a social worker? I guess. I don't know. I'm a public servant. But we need to heal children. Bottom line, we are coping with child abuse. We're not dealing with child abuse. You don't cope with something as bad as cancer. You don't live with it. You cut it out. So we need to do something different. These children need healing. The family unit needs healing. And that's why we're seeing such a the highest rate of repeat offenses in CPS cases and child abuse cases. That, and then we need to work from a law enforcement perspective. CPS works under the family code, and we're not using the penal code and criminal investigations when we're looking on the front end of those cases. And I can talk your ear off about that, but I'm just telling you, it's a way different approach. It's bringing people into the fold. It's listening. We're given 2 ears and 1 mouth because we should listen more than we talk. And it's listening to people that deal with this day in and day out and are in the trenches, and then coming together as a group, as a community, as a village to help our children.
Because when you look at Bexar County, it seems like the statistics are just astronomical when it comes to child abuse,
Right.
child death, abuse by a loved one committed on children by their parents or mother's boyfriend. You plan on changing that if the voters elect you as the next district attorney of Bexar County?
Absolutely. I mean, can I do it myself? I'd be lying to people if I said I can do it myself. It's all about Nico LaHood. It's not. It's about a person that has the conviction to start the conversation. It's about leading people into the room and shutting the door and let's all sit at the table and let's talk openly. It's about listening and understanding that people have expertise in this area and then actually implementing them, not just, lip service is terrible. My pop taught me many, many things, but he said, son, talk is cheap. Your actions speak louder than your words. My actions over 21 years speak volumes, I think, in my humble opinion. And my actions in the DA's office will speak also, not just my words. Anybody can sell a bill of goods, salesperson, but it's what do you do with that once the person bought into it? Do you actually walk it out? And that's what I would like to do.
When it comes to crime and how you would prosecute crime in the district attorney's office if the voters elect you as the district attorney, you talked about the difference between an opportunity and the chance and the mistake, or
Right.
you really didn't, or poor choices and mistakes, and how you want to turn things around and give people an opportunity,
Right.
not just a second chance.
Right. I'll
Could you
make that.
elaborate on that?
Sure, I will. In interviews, I say, I don't believe in second chances, and people look at me and they want to, what? Nico LaHood, you hypocrite? You don't believe in second chances? And I say, well, let me finish. I believe in opportunities because an opportunity has the notion of co-laboring, of working. I'm not here to enable people. That doesn't make people productive citizens. Doing things for them it's not effective. And the analogy I give people, it's a walk-on for the football team. I'll give you the opportunity to walk on this team, son, and prove that you belong on this team. But you don't have the chance to be on this team. You're going to earn yourself on this team. Same thing, no difference. No one gave me a chance. I had an opportunity. If I didn't take the right things and do the right things with that opportunity, I would have failed like so many other people do. But I had structure. I had guidance. I had accountability. And I'm very proud of where I'm at today. So I want to share that hope with people. And that's the problem. So many people are missing hope. My pastor says that we can live 2 weeks without food. I think it's something like that. And don't hold me to that. Or 3 days without water. But not 1 second without hope. And people need hope. Hope that there's going to be justice for their families if they've been affected by violent crimes. They're going to be communicated with, which does not happen now. And then hope for someone that's maybe going through a season or made a poor choice in their life, that they're going to be given structure and the opportunity to turn their life around. Now it's up to them to do the right thing.
If there was a message you can get out to the WOAI viewers today when it comes to crime and keeping the community safe, what would that message be?
Oh, we have to do it together. Community policing works. I think so many people have a negative connotation of what the DA's office or law enforcement, that for that matter, they do and they function in our community. And I want to start an actual unit in the DA's office called Connected to the Community. Let's go out there every quarter on the north side, west side, east side, south side, do a community block party like we have the night out, national night out.
Right.
Why can't the DA lead something like that? Have the police sheriff, the police chief, probation, nonprofits out there. Let the community know that we're accessible. You follow the law, you need help, we're here for you. If you don't, you might have a problem, right? And that message needs to be told to them, and that's what I want to do.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nico LaHood, a candidate for Bexar County District Attorney. I'd like to let you all know that early voting ends this Friday. That's Halloween, October 31st. Election Day is Tuesday on November 4th. Your voice is your vote, so please do not forget to cast your ballot. If you'd like to learn more about Nico LaHood, you can look at his website, which is Nico LaHood 4DA. Nico4DA.com. And don't forget, early voting ends this Friday, October 31st. Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th. And thank you for joining us for this special segment where we've talked with Nico LaHood, candidate for Bexar County District Attorney. Thank you for joining us.